Hey guys, Farmer Jesse here. I've been thinking about this a lot lately and I'm not sure what inspired it. The interns have been around, so I've been sort of mentoring them. I see all these great things going on all around the farming communities, and I just feel like looking around, like right now is the best time to become a farmer. Like right now, like right this second is the best time to become a farmer. So I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about, what it was like kind of when we started out and how things have changed a little bit just in the 9 years that we've been farming. So, yeah, let's do it. Okay, so when Hannah and I started farming, this must have been, or I guess when I started researching farming, it was 2009. And there were good resources out there. I'm not saying there was nothing, but there was like Elliot Coleman, Joel Salatin. I read like The Omnivore's Dilemma and some of these more, Eric Schlosser and all these other people kind of brought me into the fold and kind of got me introduced to food and farming and like why to farm and all those sorts of things. But in terms of like technical organic farming stuff, it was a little bit more obscure. It wasn't so readily available, at least for somebody who wasn't in the know. One of the big things that has changed is resources. The amount of resources that are available now to help young farmers or beginning farmers get into farming from an informational perspective and also from a financial perspective, and all these things are enormous right now. I want to talk about each one kind of individually, and let's start maybe with the books. Let's start with books. Books are big for me. I love books. Books are really something that go hand in hand with farming. You get a lot of downtime in the winter, long nights, and you can sit and read and kind of study up on your craft. And the books that have come out in the last 10 years have really shaped are going to change agriculture. Jean-Martin Fortier's The Market Gardener. That is a really brilliant book. That's kind of it took what Elliot Coleman did and turned it into more, it added a business element to it. It added a quality about how to make money farming. The Lean Farm by Ben Hartman, a really wonderful book. It teaches you more a process, a way to set up your farm, a way to use these sort of lean ideas and apply them to farming or apply them to anything that you're doing. And especially farming, and why it works so well in the farming system. Curtis Stone wrote a great book. Andrew Mefford, he's the editor of Growing for Market, which is another great publication. He's the editor of Growing for Market. He wrote a book on greenhouse and hoop house growing that is wonderful. That is a really wonderful book. There are all these really great books now that we didn't have, 10 years ago. Another one is podcasts. This is something that wasn't really a thing back, 10 years ago. But podcasts have really taken off in the last 10 years. And we have so many good farming ones. The ones that come to mind are just like Chris Blanchard's Farmer to Farmer. Wonderful podcast. He just interviews these farmers about where they came from and what they're doing. Diego Footer, he's also doing one that's really excellent. And he actually does a couple. Just look up Diego Footer. He does the Permaculture Voices thing that has evolved into these two other separate podcasts. One is kind of about market growing, the other is about like grass-fed beef. Both of those are or grass-fed animals. Both of those are really great, and they're really specific to what we're doing. And it was maybe more of a broad thing back when I started farming, where people would talk more broadly about organic farming. Now it's getting really, really precise. So you're able to zero in on the resources that help exactly what you want to do. And that even rolls over to things like YouTube, where you have people like Curtis Stone, who wrote The Urban Farmer. He does great videos on farming, really intensively on small acreage. There's also people like Richard Perkins, who's doing great things out in Europe, Switzerland, Sweden, where is he? Anyway, he's doing really great things, lots of no dig, no till, all that sort of thing. And of course, there's like people who are doing it on a gardening scale, and then people who are doing it on a commercial scale. And of course, I'd be remiss to not say, just while you're here, while we're talking about YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, or when a bobble pops up at the end of the video. That'd be awesome. Next is tools. Tools have really evolved a lot in these last 10 years. The Quick Cut Greens Harvester, which shaves a ton of time off growing greens, growing lettuce, that sort of thing. Lots of just little precision tools that go with the kind of farming that we do, the sort of small scale, bio-intensive gardening. the tools that have sort of come out in the last few years, thanks to, you know, Farmers Friend LLC and some of these other tool companies, have been wonderful and have really kind of changed the game. There are also all these farmers, actually some of the ones I mentioned, who are hosting these what are called master classes, which I haven't taken one. I don't know what they're like, but I'm sure they're awesome. I mean, I've seen the previews for them, and I think, like I've mentioned them a couple times, Curtis Stone did he's doing a microgreens one, Jim Fortier's doing one on market gardening, Connor Crickmore is doing one also. He does kind of a no-till style, you know, bio-intensive garden, sort of similar to ours, but on a different scale, up in New York, and he's doing a master class, and you can watch some of the videos of all of these. Ben Hartman, whom I mentioned earlier, he's doing one on lean farming this fall. I mean, all of these are accessible on the internet. You can watch them from your home, and these are kind of things that we couldn't do 10 years ago. You know, and I can't downplay sort of the importance of social media and how that has evolved. In particular, you know, Facebook groups. Like, Facebook groups have been around since Facebook has been around, more or less. But the groups have really evolved. There are several the groups that kind of are specifically geared towards, you know, if you're a CSA farmer like we are, we belong to a CSA groups, and market farming groups, and rotational grazing groups. I'm not even talking about animals in most of this video, but there's lots of stuff on the rotational grazing side as well. Permaculture, any of those things that you're into, mushroom growing, all of that is, there are all these groups with people who you put up posts and they just fill you in. They tell you, you know, you can get a good idea of what's good, you know, what they're doing, what you're doing wrong, and all those kind of good things. And Instagram is wonderful for, you know, kind of seeing what people have going on, seeing what's working, what's not, that you get tips, you get new tool tricks, you may get, you know, advice. You can shoot the same thing like the groups. You can say, hey, I'm having trouble with flea beetles, what do I do about it? And people will get back to you. It's really, really amazing community. And you get to see a lot of pretty pictures and share a lot of pictures. There is a danger there. Don't get too overwhelmed by all the pretty pictures. Everybody has weeds, I promise. Everybody has struggles, so don't let, you know, comparison be the thief of joy. Instagram can be great, but it can also be overwhelming. So just enjoy it, go there, have fun, know that people have weeds, and move on. I think the other thing about, you know, how things have changed a lot is that there are a lot more jobs on organic farms now than there were 10 years ago, than there definitely were 20 years ago. There are more people offering jobs. Hannah and I hope to, here in the near future, offer a job, and we right now offer an internship. When internships is another thing. You can go to a lot of different farms and get an internship. You work there for free or cheap, or, you know, you get a stipend and you get food, but you get an amazing education. Hannah and I did 2 years interning. Hannah did 1. We worked with our mentors for a really long time. It was an amazing experience for us that really opened us up to a lot of stuff. It got our farming started. And it's something that is really unique to our industry, sort of, at the moment, that you can go to these farms that you see on Instagram, or you see them, you know, on YouTube or wherever, and you can actually work for them for a while. So that's something that I think is really special about living in this time period. And then also maybe even get a job. I want to be clear though that I don't think it's all peaches. You know, I mean, I think there are reasons that right now is a hard time to become a farmer. And I think it's especially hard time to start a farm. It's hard to buy land. Land's getting increasingly more expensive, and access to land can be a little bit difficult, but the opportunities are there. A lot more people are open to it. A lot more people are leasing out pieces of their land. A lot of information on growing on a small scale exists, like I mentioned before, so you can find smaller plots for really cheap, and agricultural land is cheap. I mean, it shouldn't be but a few $100s an acre to rent for a year, you know, unless you get a house. But either way, some people will just let you have it in exchange for some food, and I think that's a great opportunity. So there are things that, you know, it may be a little bit more expensive to get into, but if you start on that internship end, maybe work a little bit, and then work your way to owning a farm down the line, you can do it on a very small scale, or you can go big and, you know, acquire all the things you need. Doesn't cost a lot. That's another really big advantage, is that it's not as super expensive to get into farming now. I recommend you getting some experience first, but you really can start a good, productive farm business for, you know, $20,000. There's not a lot of businesses you can do that with, or less. I mean, you know, you see all these things that say, oh, you can start a farm business for $2,000 or $200 or whatever. It's gonna cost more money than that. It's gonna take, just the basic stuff that you need to have to package food is gonna cost you a few $100s. But it is more affordable than a lot of industries to get into. So Anyway, if you guys like this video, please like this video. Also subscribe to our channel because we'll do more of these kind of videos. I want to get more people farming, and I want to inspire more people to start farming, because you don't need very much land to do this on, and you can feed a lot of people on a small amount of acreage. So there should be more of us doing it. Anyway, like I said, hit the subscribe bubble when it pops up. Leave a comment, ask us any questions you guys have. Otherwise, we hope you have a great week. We'll see you later. Bye.